Oh no, just
John! On guard, fall out.
Welcome to Ōmārama Hall. I'll just get my lovely wife Donna to put her hand up so I know she's in the audience somewhere. Where is she? Okay. That's the place I look where I'm losing my way. Hey, welcome and thank you for being here today. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Mat Bayliss and I have the very easy job today of setting the scene and making some introductions, supporting our speakers and our very important personnel. Morris Cowie asked me to give him a hand with today's ceremony. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to play a very small part in what I believe to be a very important occasion. Whilst I retired from the Ōmārama Volunteer Fire Brigade quite some years ago, I'm standing here as evidence that Morris is still bossing me around after all this time. Just one wee small request. I checked mine before. If you just make sure your phone's on silent. The exemplary conduct of some amazing citizens during the most frightening and traumatic event to impact Lake Ōhau community. Fire powered by severe wind gusts swept through the Lake Ōhau village and surrounding area in October 2020, destroying 48 homes and buildings, burning through more than 5,000 hectares of farm and Department of Conservation land. Officially one of New Zealand's most significant wildfire events in recent history. No lives were lost thanks to quick actions from the residents of the Lake Ōhau village, as well as a swift response and evacuations by the Twizel and Ōmārama Volunteer Fire Brigades and local police. Their bravery and actions undoubtedly saved lives and several properties that were otherwise being destroyed. Those are not my words. Those are the words in the official statement from the team of expert investigators. I'm sure you will hear a more personal account of this terrifying event from our speakers today. Today we also need to congratulate the Lake Ōhau community who have shown resilience and commitment to restoring their community and peace of paradise. I was up there quite recently. By crikey, you have come a long way in 4 short years. Congratulations. Morris also asked me to acknowledge the late Graham Still's absence. Graham was expert fens and wildfire person whose mana and leadership during and in the aftermath of the fire was significant, and he is greatly missed. Keri Jackson will be up here shortly sharing a poem for Graham. I have a few other apologies just to read out today. Bev and Lindsay Purvis would like to pass on their apologies. Viv Campbell-Smith can't be here from the Ōhau village. Viv can't be here today. Sonia and Pete Trussler, Cunningham Beryl and Kay and Ken Rogers send all their apologies as well. We have some important community leaders present. So I'd like to thank Waitaki District Mayor Gary Kircher and Mackenzie District Deputy Mayor Karen Morgan for being here today. Mackenzie District Mayor Anne Munro has a family matter to attend to. Karen is a neighbour of mine and a very valuable member of the Twizel community and council. So thank you for stepping in at late notice, Karen, much appreciated. And thank you Gary, you've been very significant in setting this event up. Thank you. So as I said, shortly we'll have a poem for Graham from Keri. Then we'll have a speaker from the Lake Ōhau village. Thank you, Tamiola. I'll call you up to the stage as we get to that point in the schedule. Our local volunteer fire brigades are represented today by Station Officer Jack Zoria for the Ōmārama Volunteer Fire Brigade. Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade is represented here by Chief Fire Officer Simon Fox. Thank you both. Senior Sergeant Jason McCoy, I didn't catch up with you at the start of the event. I'm hoping you're here to talk on behalf of the police. Thank you, Jason. And Fire and Emergency Waitaki Group Manager Mike Harrison, I believe you're here as well. Thank you. Yeah, of course, in the front. Following these speakers, our Waitaki District Mayor Gary and assisted by the Mackenzie District Deputy Mayor Karen will present the citations. We'll call the recipients up onto the stage, and there'll be an opportunity at the end of that for any of the recipients to share a few words if they choose to. Morris Cowie recently received a Queen's Service Medal, and every time I've greeted him with "Hey Morris, QSM," I get the grumpy Morris face. And I'm sure a few of you know what that looks like. And he goes, "Matt, it was a team effort. It's not just about me." As always, Morris is right. His years of service and massive contribution to the community achieved the support from his family, his friends, and fellow volunteers. If any of our recipients of citations today are feeling a little uncomfortable with the attention you're receiving, that's the Kiwi way, please be assured that we know that you are also representing those who support you. Also know that your community chose you for good reason, and accepting this citation is yet another valuable thing you are doing with your community and for the people that support you. So thank you. And following the formal part of today, you're invited to stay for a cuppa. There will be a slideshow and an opportunity for you to connect with friends. So right about now, Morris is looking at me and that "get on with it, Matt" look on his face. So without further hesitation, I'd like to invite up on the stage Keri. Thank you, Keri.
I stand here today to acknowledge another hero. The recent sudden passing of Graham Still has rocked the Fens family to the core, and I wanted to take this moment to acknowledge the Lake Ōhau Fire Incident Commander, the recovery specialist, and our friend Graham. His tireless support of the Ōhau community during and after the fire was second to none, and today we remember him here with you all. The following poem was written by Steve Oshner for Graham, titled "The Fire Manager." Scrub green, yellow gold, clear the land, the crews are told. He does the work, plans unfold, dozers, drip torch, fire breaks hold. Lighting crew from the top, fire runs down, it's bloody hot. Green tree planting, winter's done. He works on in the sun. Wilding trees, scrub, tussock tall. Trees go straight, thin them all. Summer's dry, the land shimmers, dry summer data figures. Green grass brown, numbers high. Brown grass dead, reaching triggers. He checks the plan and gives advice. The signs change. High, think twice. RH low, the sign says no. Permits cancelled, papers show. It's turning red, the danger's high. Forecast this month, outlook dry. Pager sounds, wakes the house. Red lights flash, crew turns out. Flames heat, morning chill. Base and finger, scorching hill. Sectors, crews and safety spoken. Fire runs northeast, comms broken. Pump noise screaming in the air. Hose lines run, water's here. Rakes and tools, the dirt is dry. Radios chatter, the tension's high. The day is hot, sun beating down. Helo lifts, deafening sound. He scans the land, the race is on. The rotors spin, wind are strong. Bucket drops, skid touch down. ZK call sign, flames all round. Ops tactics, maps surround. Tankers fill, dams on the ground. Hot ash smoke blocks out the sun. Red sky evening, work's not done. Mop up ash, hand tools, labour. Crews push on, digger, grader. The plan has worked, fire succumbed. Laughter, jokes, debriefs are done. Family waits, his homeward run. Tomorrow's day, soon to come.
Wow, that's a tough one to follow, isn't it? Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of our community, present and those of us unable to be here. Today we have come together not just to remember a harrowing event and a massive effort required to douse that blaze during the early morning of October 4, 2020, but to acknowledge and celebrate an incredible bravery displayed by a group of men and women who, under the cover of darkness, risked everything to evacuate and ensure no one was left behind as the raging wildfire engulfed our beloved village and the surrounding homes. Of course, we acknowledge the many fire brigades, especially Ōmārama and Twizel, emergency services, the harbor master, government agencies such as civil defense, and our local council officers, and many of the volunteers, as well as the communities and businesses of Twizel and Ōmārama. Without your support and action, the outcomes for the Ōhau community would have been far worse. However, on this occasion, we celebrate 5 individuals. These 5 brave men and women represent a cross-section of the community: a ski field sculptor, a maintenance and groundskeeper, a police constable, a builder, and operations support specialist. Unlikely heroes? Maybe. These remarkable individuals were thrust together with no warning and did what others couldn't or didn't, and many of us are here today because of their quick thinking, instincts, and grit. Our brave heroes that we honor today are Craig Ovenden, Mark Paulson, Nayland Smith, Logan Cunningham, and Keri Jackson. Their acts of bravery and their unwavering courage are the stuff of legends. On behalf of the wider Lake Ōhau, I offer thanks and admiration as many of us gathered here today will recall on that fateful morning as smoke and flames driven by extreme wind moved towards our village. These courageous individuals answered the call without hesitation. Your selfless actions and unwavering determination ensured that residents, families, and guests were safely ushered away from danger, from the clutches of a raging fire that would eventually engulf our village, as well as the surrounding homes and the lifestyle blocks, destroying everything in its fiery path. That warning is etched firmly in my mind forever. I appreciate that much detail has been written and recited over the years about the selflessness of these individuals. Your quick thinking and disregard of self, that in the heat of the moment, as flames danced dangerously close, trees exploding overhead, smoke filling the air, you did what needed to be done to alert and shepherd us from the harm's way. I'm not here to add to the detail, rather to acknowledge, celebrate, and give thanks that we continue to have heroes and legends in our community. Let us take this moment to honor their heroism. You exemplified the spirit of community and the bonds that will tie us together, proving that in the face of adversity, we can rise to the occasion. We are eternally grateful for your bravery and dedication. Although you are individuals, it is your collective actions that remind us of the strength found in unity and the power we hold when we stand together. As we reflect on this event, I challenge all of us to commit to supporting one another, for it is through our collective strength that we are rebuilding and recovering. Thank you, our dear heroes, for your courage and for being our beacon of hope when we needed it most. Graham would have been very proud of all of you. Nami Nui.
Get my own pages. Kia ora. I'm Jack from the Ōmārama Volunteer Fire Brigade, and I was one of the many volunteer firefighters who responded to the fire in the Ōhau village. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to stand up here and speak briefly today. I will tell you now, I still get pretty overwhelmed when I think about and talk about that morning, so apologies in advance if I had the odd stumble, but I did like Matt Strick looking for his wife in the audience, Jacob. If you're there, my fire brigade wife. It took me quite a long time after the fire to understand that no two people had the same experience. We all saw and heard different things, and what might be a rock-solid reality for one person may sound completely foreign to someone else. And to be honest, it was even longer before I learned the full extent of what these 5 people had done. You hear bits and pieces from different people that don't quite match up with what you remember happening, but then you realise that everyone went through their own version of hell that morning, spanning many hours and multiple kilometres. Some of the award recipients' actions mentioned in the citations I witnessed firsthand, but many of them I learned well after the fact. And when I put these actions into the context of what I and our crew experienced, I knew that these people truly were heroes. I was told by Morris that my 20-minute speech was a little too long, so instead I just want to share with you a brief snippet from our experience that morning. And I can only tell you what I and we experienced, but hopefully it helps you appreciate just how significant these acts of courage are. But I'll take you back to Sunday the 4th of October 2020. The country was under level 2 COVID restrictions. We were all learning how to live with physical distancing and face masks. At 3:06 AM, a 111 call was received to advise that there were pine trees on fire behind Lake Ōhau village. We responded from the Ōmārama fire station, and when we got to the village, we drove around with the sirens on, the horns blaring, and even over the loudhailer, which had never needed to be used before. Evacuate the village, there is a fire approaching. Evacuate the village. And it was difficult to know which houses to stop and check. Some had cars in the drive, some had lights on, Some had all the signs of being occupied, but no answer when we banged on the door. And with a very limited window of opportunity, we just had to do the best we could, stopping at the ones that looked like they might have people in and hoping that we weren't leaving people behind. And after a couple of laps of the village, at about 3:54 AM to be precise, we parked up at Huxley Terrace for the last time, directing people to evacuate. And the wind was so strong that you had to hold onto the truck just to stay standing. And the smoke entering the village was so thick that it was hard to breathe, making tears stream down your face. The worst part was the embers. They typically fall down from the sky, but by then they were coming in sideways, with the gale force winds burning pieces of pine and twigs, slamming into your face and your body. And the place was just lit up by these flying red devils. And it would have been beautiful if it wasn't terrifying. But what was normally a picturesque and tranquil place had become hell on earth. And the fire had entered the village. So at that point, the decision was made that we needed to leave ourselves. If we stayed any longer, we would be the ones needing rescue. So we jumped back in the truck and headed down to the entrance of the village. And as we drove back, I remember a fleeting thought crossing my mind. There's no way we got to everyone. I wonder how many bodies they'll find when this is all over. But we still had a big job ahead of us, so that thought came and went as we cracked on with the task at hand. And there is no doubt in my mind that the actions of Bean, Craig, Keri, Logan and Mark, under those conditions that we witnessed, were truly heroic. And to answer the question of how many bodies were found, we all know now that the answer is 0. Not a single person lost their life or was injured in that fire, and that is in large part due to the actions of the 5 receiving the awards today. So on behalf of the Ōmārama Fire Brigade and personally from me, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for everything you did that morning.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Charlotte. Foxy. Chief Officer Simon Fox, Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade. Thank you, Simon.
Just take me a minute. A few more pages in the Jack. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I'm addressing you today as the Chief Fire Officer of the Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade. Tēnā koutou, katoa, nā mai, haere mai, nā mai, hoki mai. I'm Simon Fox. I'm a 26-year member of the Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade. I've been the CEO for the last decade. A position I've really cherished, a position I've given up of my own accord on the 10th of December to let a better man come and run my fire brigade. It's a privilege to be able to speak to these citations today. I think the people have spoken loud and proud that were affected by this event. Nobody should ever dumb down the event that happened in the Ōhau village that day. It wasn't just a vegetation fire, it wasn't just a structure fire, it was a firestorm. As Jack said, the conditions in that village when we entered in there were very similar to what you see on TV now in the wars overseas. That's the first thing I thought of when I went into that village. It was just destruction. On the 4th of October that morning, my pager went off just after 3 o'clock. I live 8 minutes from my fire station. I have a very good view of the Ōhau village because I live in Manuka Terrace in Twizel, a high wind speed area. I had no curtains in my house because I just finished my house, but I didn't have the money to put the curtains in. The glow outside my house from that village was so evident. I just ran straight back to my wife and said, I'm going to be gone for quite a while. On proceeding to the fire station, which takes me about 8 minutes, I thought, I need to ring my Deputy Chief Fire Officer. He's such a reliable man. I knew he would be on that truck and either heading there or just about to. Ian's a man that doesn't say very much. So I just simply rung him, or Nayland, it took me 9 minutes, 20 seconds because I thought I would make this call. Taking notes, guys. And I just said to Ian, "Are you on your way, Ian?" And all I got out of Ian was, "Yeah." I thought, Ian's on the way, that's good. And then I said to him, "Ian, this is really big." "Yeah." That's about all I got. The steady stream of traffic coming out of that village as I proceeded there in my little rescue ute with my firefighter by my side, Neil Smith, made me feel pretty good that something pretty good was happening out there to get those people out of that village. I remember stopping just before the spade line track, and Mr. McMillan, who was a resident of that village, was sitting there looking very stressed out with a couple of other people, and I said, "Go to our fire station, the heat pumps are on, we're ready there for you." It then dawned on me it wasn't such a clever idea because our milk was probably 3 months old, but I knew the beer in the fridge was fresh. After being stuck by the flames on the spade line track, I couldn't get round to where the guys were for it seemed like an eternity waiting there to get a bit of a break between the spade line track and Shelton Downs, but when it cleared, I managed to get round to where Ōmārama and Twizel had grouped on the side of the road below the village. It was the best place for them to park, but there were flames all around us. I think at one point they wetted down around where we were because they were getting really worried. It's at about that point we had a bit of a chat with Ian and Jack and Morris, and at this point I would just like to deviate from my speech and pay a tribute to Jack Zarab for the calls he made that morning going to that village. He went third alarm, which is what you should do, is ramp it up to get more resources. Third alarm structure fire. How many young people in the heat of that would think of that straight away, and he did, and that meant the right resources got to that village quick. The fact that you were instrumental in evacuating that village with the people, Jack, it's something that your community, we're all very proud of it, your community as an up and coming leader of your brigade should be very proud. And I have no doubt in my mind that my fire brigade in Twizel don't have any doubt in my mind that you're going to build this Ōmārama Fire Brigade even better than it is now. You're a fantastic young man. When we go to these fires, it works on a rank structure, so the highest ranked guy gets to take it over. So on the way to the village, Jack's talking to Ian, my deputy, going, "Oh Ian, I'm going to hand over to you when you get there." Of course, Ian, who doesn't say much, but he said something this time. He said, "Wait, Foxy's on the way." Well, hand over to him. So, you know, whether I wanted to be or not, I was in the hot seat that morning. After some discussion, I took our rescue ute with Neil Smith sitting beside me, and I took a tanker into that village to do an assessment of what could be done. Jack's right about those embers. I had to put goggles on because they were stinging my face so much. I remember Jack's word to me that morning, "Foxy, you can't go into that village. It's apocalyptic," or something like that. I said, "Jack, I need to remind you, you've handed over to me. I'm going to tell you what to do now." And that was in a really friendly manner, really friendly. But that's how that went. So I went into that village, and they teach us when we're going to assess something, there's a thing called a 360, and there's a thing called a dynamic risk assessment. Those were all out the gate that morning. I thought to myself, what are we going to do? How are we going to manage this? Look at all this responsibility dumped on my shoulders. I got 3 phone calls that morning, very quick. One was from my assistant area manager in Timaru, Stephen Butler. I was so pleased to hear his voice. He says, "I'm on the way, Simon." I says, "Well, that's great," because I knew when he got there, he would take over from me. And he did. I got another phone call from Phil Mackay, and he was at the time, he was the Fairley volunteer fire chief, and he was the Mackenzie District Council Civil Defence Rep. The Civil Defence people that morning, both from the Mackenzie District Council and the Waitaki District Council, were unbelievable. That they swung into gear so quick. They really need the credit for that. As local crews arrived, which were Tekapo, Fairley, Otamatata, the first ones there, they had trouble getting past Shelton Downs as well, so they had to wait till they come to the safe forward point where I was, where they got a briefing on what was going on. They got some safety messages, and all the officers in charge of those trucks were told, if at any point in that village you feel you are unsafe, radio through, we will sound an alarm and we will evacuate that village. Things were that bad you had to. The ember traffic in the reports later was proved to be travelling up to 2 kilometres, those embers. There was iron from that village that was found 6 kilometres away in the days after that. The damage in that property, in around that village, was like unbelievable to me. I thought, what am I going to do? And then I thought, all I can do is save what's savable and make it better for these people in these terrible conditions. The wind was gusting, like Jack said. The embers were stinging your face. The fact that no firefighters were injured that morning is a small miracle, but I think we managed it as best we could. Their advice was to work defensively behind your truck if you need to in big gusts, or as I said, just get out of there if you think you need to. As daylight broke in that village, there was more troops, all the local troops had arrived, more were coming. There was a very eerie, and I call the word silence, but it wasn't silent because all you could hear was the sound of the trucks idling away and the pumps humming away. It was a very, very strange feeling for me, something I've never forgotten. And then as daylight did break, we started to hear those helicopters buzzing around and coming, and I thought, wow, the big machine's here, the big machine's swinging into action. And they did. And I think the big machine served that community very well for the next few days and that whole week. It was an awesome thing to be a part of for us. When I first started in the fire brigade, 6 weeks later, we had the biggest vegetation fire in Twizel we'd ever had. 6 weeks later. 6 years later, we had the Pukaki one. A month after that, we had this Ōhau village. It was like, I must be the luckiest chief in New Zealand, I thought to myself, you know. Raymond Harrington was also another person that ran very early that morning to get a digger. He said, do you need a digger, Simon? I said, get your digger on the way and I'll square it off with the guys when they get here. Just get going. And he did. He got on the road. It was fantastic. Some things that stuck out to me during that fire was one thing, and I don't want to make big of any particular fire brigade crew, but there was a crew there in the day or two after that aftermath that come from Clandyboy. They were a Clandyboy rural crew. I couldn't get over how hard those boys worked. They toiled away flat out all day and for days on end, those guys. They really stood out to me. We got to work with career crews that week. Peter Douglas from St Kilda and Trent from an Invercargill crew. They treated us like equals, which was fantastic for my people, and it was talked about by my people afterwards how good they were. Murray Cairns, the VSO from Ashburton, finding the missing dog. That was a big thing to me. I love dogs, and it might be a small thing to a lot of people, but when he found that dog, it was a big save. Twizel stayed involved in that fire all week. We had crews out there because we thought it was our back door, and we were very lucky in Twizel. There's 37 members in our fire brigade at the moment. When me and Ian took over with the 14, we're becoming a small machine ourselves. On the Friday, after the fire, 4 or 5 of my brigade members were asked to take some of the residents back out to their property. The first time they'd really been to be able to go and have a look for an hour. ladies and gentlemen, that stuck with me till today. 4 years on, and I still remember the emotion of the people that I took to their house. All that was standing was a big stone fireplace and a beautifully landscaped section that was burnt to bits. And as those people got out of their car, I had a form that I was meant to go over and get them to sign to say, look guys, you're only meant to be here an hour. You're not meant to go on anyone else's property for safety and that and all that. And I sort of pulled up behind them, a bit away from them, and I picked up the form and I picked up the pen, and by that time they were getting out of their car. And the guy's wife fell on her knees in the driveway, bashed the ground, and cried her eyes out. And I thought, put your paper and your pen away, Simon. And I had a bit of a blubber in my truck myself, but I'm not too proud to tell you as I did. That was the thing out of that whole event that stuck with some of my people, was the loss for the people. That couple were not far away from retiring and moving to that village. They'd been slammed in the earthquakes, they got slammed again. You would have had to have been a very, very cold person not to have felt that emotion, and I did, and it sits with me to today. I'm nearly there. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I think the voices of the people are being heard. Today we celebrate the bravery of these 5 people whose local knowledge was paramount that morning. You can't brush that off. You guys knew that village like the back of your hands. I think you saved us a bigger issue in the way you evacuated that village, along with Jack and your crew and the Twizel crew that got there. But your guys' local knowledge was gold that morning, absolutely. And your willingness just to get in and stuck in and help. Today we should also celebrate that there was no loss of life. Think about it, 3 o'clock Sunday morning, Helen was school holidays. There were probably people in those houses that weren't familiar with that area. The village was quite full. School holidays. Imagine how things could have been. Today we should also celebrate the resilience of the residents of the Ōhau community. They've really made a big difference out there. They've stuck and they've shown grit and determination, and they're looking after the place they love. I think individually, Nayland, on behalf of the Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade, I'd like to thank you for your efforts that morning, and I hope that the citation also reflects that you're a keeper of this wider community and all the good work you do to keep your community safe. Shouldn't go unnoticed. Craig Ovenden, I don't know Craig very well, but I've been told that Craig's a very humble man that didn't want this award and blah, blah, blah. Well, Craig, you've got it now. And my fire brigade would also like to thank you for your courage, your bravery, and your local knowledge that morning. You knew where to go. You knew who was most vulnerable. You've done your bit. Mark Paulson, ex-rural firefighter. Well, Mark, this is the first time that I've been with my crew in our fire brigade here and there's nothing burning. Your local knowledge was outstanding. We've had a lot of interaction with you over the years. Local knowledge was gold as well that morning, Mark, and you stepped up for the people. Then I get to my 2 firefighters, Keri and Logan. I don't need to speak to your actions that morning. You were part of a big team, but you did do that rescue. And I don't doubt for a minute in the conditions that were there that the person you saved could have perished quite easily that morning. Quite easily. I'd like to acknowledge Logan's mother and father today, Ted and Sally, who were here. And I'd like to acknowledge Michael and Leslie Jackson, I hope you guys are extremely proud of your children today, young adults. I've actually told these parents before, and nothing to do with this fire, but how outstanding young members of Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade they have been. Hearing top people, real role models. One thing I know about you getting this award is you will carry this award on for the rest of your life, you will mentor other people, you will always do the right thing. I'm very proud of you, I'm very proud of the whole Twizel team, proud of America as well. He's all stepped up that morning. So for the volunteers that are here today, I would just simply like to say this. Kia kaha, kia mara, kia mana wananui. That means be strong, be brave, be steadfast. Another wee quote, just as I get ready to finish, is about being a volunteer. I read a newspaper article once, and it had a wee snippet about being a volunteer, and I just want to share this with you because I think it's right on the nub. It goes like this, it's very short. I'm nearly finished. It goes, being a volunteer is like pissing your pants in dark trousers. No one really sees what you've done, but it gives you a warm feeling. Congratulations to the 5 recipients. The people have spoken today. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Hello, my name is Senior Sergeant Jason McCoy. I'm the Waitaki Response Manager. Have the pleasure of having Nayland, or Bean as we know him, and Pete and Keri under our wing. So firstly I'd like to thank Morris and his helpers for organising today. It's fantastic, Morris. I'm glad it's gone better than the golf that we did last year. We won't go any further on that, Morris. Anyway, I had the pleasure to see all the emergency services respond on that day as the duty sergeant woke me up. He claims I beat him up here, but I don't know if I did. But anyway, I got up here when it was at its worst, where we have all the volunteers attending, in that volunteer capacity, very professionally. I still remember Jack Bean talking about how great you were, and you talking about how great Bean was. So the leveraging that you both had in that time, under that huge pressure. I've had 37 years in police. I don't think I've seen anything probably as devastating as the Ōhau fire on that day. And I still remember, and you might, your worship, when we went through, I think it was the next day, and we were commenting that it just looked like a war zone. And it was really unusual how you would see one property completely destroyed and then another house untouched. And it was just really eerie that happened. But on that day, getting up there, I remember getting there, and firstly, as you're driving, because it's a wee way from Oamaru, I won't say what the time was, the speed, like Simon, I would have been doing the speed limit and not on the phone driving or anything like that. I get the call from there. I'm ringing out what we call the DCC, the District Coordination Centre. They're ringing inspectors, they're trying to ring. We're trying to find out from Nayland what's going on. It's chaos, and they're actually dealing with the real chaos. And whereas as managers think it's chaos going on till we get there. But knowing, if you've all known Nayland and his processes in relation to search and rescue and so forth, he's pretty methodical and gets there. So firstly that's in safe hands as a senior constable that's on the street. So firstly knowing that's pretty good. So I'm getting from the inspector, we need a head count. Yep. So obviously fire's in charge, it's a fire, but we need a head count. We look after the people. So Nayland, we need, I'm pretty sure that everyone's out of the village. I can't remember the exact number. I think you said 86 at the lodge. From the time, you probably don't remember. It'll be in your notebook that you wrote later on. And we're trying to work out the ones that Simon said there was a queue of cars coming out, so try and make sure that we had everyone accounted for, and we're pretty sure that we did. But what I would say, and I'll keep it short, I only hope that I would have the same courage that you 5 people had for what you did. I know there are a lot of other people behind you, but you know, to go into burning places and houses and do that stuff and down burning banks, rescuing people, is pretty huge, and I'd only hope that I have that courage. I haven't had it faced for me. I've had some other things, but it's pretty calm. You know, senior sergeant, I come up, I go to the safe forward point, or the command module mic as it might have been when we were in there, and we're hearing what you on the street are doing, dealing with that at the time. Ben did tell us to come and see him in the village on the night, I think it was about 5:30, and the sergeant will recall this, and he still says it to the day. We're driving up there, and there's flames going across the road, horizontal as the embers were, and the former senior sergeant did go through the first one before the sergeant stopped behind him, and I looked in the rear vision mirror and thought, maybe that wasn't a clever move. So I went back to the safe forward point and ran bang from there. So, you know, that courage up there. The village was pretty empty at that point, being you and Scotty, I think, were driving around just making sure, but I didn't come and join you. But no, firstly, from a police perspective, you know, the volunteers that got out there to look after the citizens of Ōhau are pretty awesome. And I'd just like to comment on the command module on the way, once they got up and gearing, and knowing where everyone was and what was going on. And as to your point, Simon, it's great to have those people that are paid to come along and do it, but the volunteers at the stop where your day job isn't fire, yes, you've done the courses, but that's, no one else will experience that, I don't think, at all. So to you and Jack, that in there, those initial stages, really awesome. Thank you very much. Craig and Mark, amazing that you're out there, you care about your community like everyone does, and get out there and help those people. So, very, very deserving. I'm going to end it there. I didn't bring my notes. I wrote up a number of the reports, so and it's vivid in my mind. The flames across the road, the disaster of the village when I was with Mr. Kuchar going through there, and just the comments and that experience. But to know that Nayland he's got it. You are very lucky up in this community with the knowledge and the experience that he has, and he is a safe pair of hands for the police up here. To the other 5, thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you.
Tēnā tautau katoa. It is my privilege to be here today to represent Fire and Emergency as we acknowledge the heroism of the 5 Royal Humane Society Bronze Medal recipients. In the early hours of Sunday, the 4th of October 2020, a large fire driven by high temperatures, dry vegetation and gale force winds impacted the small alpine village of Ōhau. As the community implemented their evacuation plan, the first arriving crews from Ōmārama and Twizel were faced with a rapidly growing fire, an intense fire front bearing down on the village, an ember attack commonly seen in Australia, North America and Europe, but not here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. In the best tradition of New Zealand firefighters, and at much risk to themselves, the fire crews went to work evacuating the village with the able support of Craig Ovenden, Mark Paulson and a police colleague, Senior Constable Nayland being Smith. This was done under arduous and life-threatening conditions, and as fire surrounded the village, Senior Firefighter Logan Cunningham and Qualified Firefighter Keri put themselves in significant danger to effect the rescue of a local resident. Their efforts and the efforts of all our people undoubtedly saved lives that morning. Earlier this year we mourned the loss of Graham Still. As the then Principal Rural Fire Officer for Otago, Graham played a key role in the response and recovery phases of Lake Ōhau fire. He was extremely proud and humbled by the response to the fire by the emergency services, the residents of Ōhau village, and the wider community. I know he would have wanted to be here today to see you all. To all the award winners, my heartfelt congratulations. And to all those that attended the fire, thank you for your incredible skill and heroic efforts in protecting the people of Lake Ōhau and the village. Thank you.
Terrible. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is really, it's an honour and a very humbling privilege to be able to be here today on behalf of the Royal Humane Society to award these fantastic people the medals for their bravery. I just want to acknowledge everyone who was involved in the response, both on the 4th of October and following that. It's certainly a vivid memory for me coming up over the Ōtara saddle and looking at the glow in the distance and thinking, on the one hand, Jack was really like, yeah, well, that's could be beautiful, but actually understanding just how terrifying it was, just how big that fire was from that distance. So it was probably a series of bits of good luck that helped along the way, but I think there might have been a few miracles as well. On that day, those miracles may have been wearing uniforms, some of them may have been in civvies, but I think we all thank them very much to everyone who responded that day and helped make sure there was no loss of life. It was quite incredible, and their feat absolutely deserved to be acknowledged. Since, over those few days, I just want to acknowledge too that the Twizel community, how it wrapped its arms around the people of the Lake Ōhau area and how they cared for them. I think it was really quite a fantastic situation where the Mackenzie Civil Defence team and the Waiheke District of Civil Defence team worked together for the common good and provided the support they did. But thankfully, it was really down to all of those first responders who, instead of seeing everyone racing away from the fire, they went towards it. And just thank them very much for their efforts. So thank you. So I've just got to read out a citation. So there's 2 citations. The first one is for 3 of the recipients, and the second citation, which Deputy Aaron will be reading out, is for the other 2, and we'll be handing out the medals as well. Sure, get my words right on here. So this is from the Royal Humane Society of New Zealand, Incorporated, instituted in 1898, and on behalf of Her Excellency the Governor General of New Zealand. Case number 1796, Craig Ovenden, Mark Paulson, Senior Constable, Nayland, Richard Smith. Very cool. Thank you. In the early hours of the 4th of October 2020, emergency services were alerted to a large wildfire in the vicinity of the Lake Ōhau village. The wind was extremely strong, causing the fire to spread quickly and effectively destroying everything in its path. Travelling in and around the village was dangerous, with flames crossing the roads at multiple points, embers falling or going horizontal, as has been described, and gas bottles exploding, sending metal fragments flying about. Craig Ovenden, a resident of the village, drove around the village, sounding his horn, alerting them of the danger. Senior Constable Nayland Smith, off-duty and sole charge officer, arrived and was advised of an elderly resident who was unaccounted for. Smith and Ovenden went to his address and, using force, entered the home and evacuated him. Mark Paulson was the maintenance manager and lived at Ōhau Lodge. He also had a previous experience as a rural firefighter. Using this experience and his knowledge of the area, he provided reassurance to staff and residents at the lodge and commenced checking the surrounding rural properties to evacuate any remaining residents and to identify houses that could be saved. He was joined by Senior Constable Smith, and together they continued to check for residents and to triage houses that could be saved and alert the fire service. During this process, they were often driving with fire on both sides of the road and with limited visibility. They checked every property, then spray painted, cleared at the relevant driveway entrance. The timely and courageous actions of Craig Ovenden, Mark Paulson and Senior Constable Smith resulted in the successful rescue of an elderly village resident and the triaging of a number of properties for occupation and fire. I'd just like all fire recipients just to come forward and join us on the stage.
To read the citation for the remaining two recipients that are on stage. This is the Royal Humane Society of New Zealand Incorporated citation on behalf of the patron, Her Excellency the Governor General of New Zealand. It's case number 1811 for Logan James Cunningham and Keri Patricia Jackson. On the 4th of October 2020, a severe wildfire swept through Lake Ōhau village, intensified by extreme winds that spread flames and launched embers, rapidly consuming the area. Volunteer firefighters Logan Cunningham and Keri Jackson, as part of the Twizel Fire Brigade, entered the village to assist with search and evacuation. The hazardous conditions, including high flames, dense smoke, and relentless embers propelled by strong gusts, which complicated visibility and movement. While progressing through the smoke-filled area, Mr. Cunningham spotted a figure struggling on a steep hillside. The village resident, Chris Spears, who had become separated from others during the evacuation. Disorientated, weakened by smoke inhalation, and surrounded by advanced flames, Mr. Spears was on his hands and knees, unable to make further progress towards safety. Undeterred by immediate dangers, Mr. Cunningham descended the treacherous hillside to reach Mr. Spears. He equipped him with protective goggles, lifted him to his feet, and began guiding him back up the slope. Flames and heavy smoke persisted, and embers rained down as they navigated the incline. Recognising the urgency, Miss Jackson joined them to provide additional support, helping to steady Mr. Spears as they ascended to safer ground. Upon reaching the fire tanker, Mr. Spears was given oxygen to alleviate his smoke inhalation. The swift and selfless actions of Mr. Cunningham and Miss Jackson under such perilous conditions, marked by low visibility, intense heat, and unpredictable fire movements, were essential in saving Mr. Spears' life. The bravery and decisive actions of Logan Cunningham and Keri Jackson under life-threatening circumstances exemplified outstanding service and dedication.
is your opportunity to respond to all the lovely words you've heard today. If you wanted to, I believe, Mark, you were going to jump up on the
I'm trying to keep this very short and sweet because I know if I'm going too long, I'll be on my back too. But all I would like to say is on behalf of my fellow recipients, I would like to thank Her Excellency the Governor General of New Zealand, who is the patron for the Royal Humane Society of New Zealand, for the honour of us with these awards, honouring us with these awards. Also, thanks to the Deputy Mayor of Mackenzie and Waitaki Mayor of the Island for the presentation of these awards. Also, a very big thank you must go to Morris Keri, QSM, who was Army volunteered by Nayland Smith to organise this day. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody for turning up for this day. It's taken 4 years, and as everybody has already said, that the reason we had no loss of life or any major medical issues was by the effort put in by all the volunteers and everybody that was up here on the day. We, ourselves, us G5, got singled out. I'm sure I was there just for the entertainment, but turned out that things just go a bit overboard sometimes. So thank you very much for everything.
Hi all, my name is Logan, Cunningham, member of the Twizel Volunteers Fire Brigade. I would just like to thank everyone for coming on to today to witness us receive these awards, and I'd just like to show my appreciation for the leaders of the Twizel Volunteer Fire Brigade and our surrounding brigades for the effort that we put in that night. Something pretty special and something none of us will probably ever witness again in our lives, so thank you very much.
That brings us to a welcome end, I think. So I'd just like to sincerely thank our recipients, recognising the community represented, also the elections on the evening needed to be acknowledged. I'd like to thank all the speakers. We can tell for a few of them that was a pretty harrowing experience in itself. We're living the events of that evening. As you heard before, I'd just like to thank Morris Keri, QSM, his tireless effort over the last couple of years and insistence that we acknowledge those people, members of our community, and the efforts of the broader community that brought us here today. So Morris, thank you for that. Also like to thank once again, I don't know if you've noticed, but Steve and Ruth Grundy, anytime there's anything big happening in Ōmārama, they're running around helping out, so thank you. And I know there's a lot of other people in the Ōmārama community who've been together to make today happen. And thank you on behalf of the organisers. Thank all of you for attending today. You've made this a very special occasion. So I'll just remind you that it's a cup of tea time now, and there'll be some a slideshow, a vision presentation on the big screen here. Great opportunity for you to reconnect with some people you might not have seen for a while and old friends. Thank you.